This is the Freeheel Life Podcast, episode number 42. I'm your host, Josh Madsen, coming at you from the Freeheel Life shop in Salt Lake City, Utah. And we are continuing our Telemark adventures through the summer months, but it's starting to get colder. I know we had like hurricane-style winds here knocking over trees in Salt Lake City, and it dropped to like 40 degrees this week. And there was snow. I actually went and put my hands through some snow up in Little Cottonwood Canyon, which is just up the road from us. So it is on its way, people. Winter is coming. Super stoked for that. I mean, skiing's not too far off. But in the meantime, we're going to keep the news and podcasts coming to you each week on Mondays. So if you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe and keep up on it anywhere podcasts are found and on our YouTube channel. So some news and notes real quick, nothing too fancy. We are still pushing some of our demo boots for sale out the door from the Freeheel Life shop. You can find most of that on our Instagram page. I've been posting stuff, and you can always email customer service at freeheellife.com if you're looking for a specific size. Sometimes I kind of do that underground stuff on the Instagram, so if you do not follow it on there, that's a good spot to go. Or you can always email us and tell us what you're looking for, and we'll put it on the radar and make sure we're looking for it. Other than that, we have started receiving shipments of new equipment, and we'll be doing so in the next couple weeks. Some stuff has arrived. There are some refreshes on Scarpa boots that have gotten here. And I know our Volley, our 22 design stuff, and more Scarpa stuff is on the way. And also Majo 3.0, which we will be putting a pre-order up for this week. It's going to be a big backcountry year everywhere. And that Majo 3.0, if you don't know much about it, you can check out Craig Dostie and I did a literally toe to heel 1 hour Majo 3.0 podcast a few months back, and that should wet your whistle and get you stoked for it. So if you want to pre-order that, the first batch is probably going to get all pre-ordered once we put that up. So you make sure to get on the list before they are all gone. Other than that, subscribe to our YouTube channel and Instagram if you're hyped on all the content and stoke. You can find Freeheel Life at Freeheel Life on Instagram, at Teleskier Mag for Telemark Skier Magazine. They are generally totally different content, and you can find some really fun stuff, but it is all from the same family. And the YouTube channel is kind of where everything congregates into one. So you get shop stuff, you get fun stuff like heel removal tips. If you haven't seen those, I like to take heels off bindings and replace them with Telemark bindings, and stoke videos and the like. So we would love to connect with you there. Please do it. So today's episode, I'm going to be talking to one of my Telemark heroes, Mr. Chip Chase. And Chip owns and operates the Whitegrass Ski Touring Center in the Canaan Valley of West Virginia. He's been part of the Telemark community since the early days, and has no doubt influenced many people along the way to learn the turn. So without further ado, please welcome my friend Chip Chase. All right, Chip, welcome to the show, buddy. Thanks for being here. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. We've been waiting to hear from you, and I've been listening to your other blogs and some of my friends and people, and it's amazing what you're doing, and I really appreciate you capturing history like this. And it makes people remember stuff they probably long forgot, you know. And, yeah, it's neat to bring it all together because you're part of the new modern, little bit more NTN people, and some of us are kind of the wool knicker crowd, and but we all love skiing, and we all love the outdoors in the winter. So everybody knows it's supposed to be wet and cold in the winter when it's actually dry and warm when you go skiing. So it's
true.
Counterintuitive.
No, man, I appreciate it. And you were on my, when I started the podcast, I thought this was it's actually turned out to be a really easier way for me to connect with everyone and just have a conversation, like I've met a lot of you guys over the years, and then this is kind of a cool way to capture a lot of cool information, in my opinion, in a shorter format, I guess, instead of like writing an article and waiting to, edit it and all that. This is a lot more off the cuff, so it's cool.
Well, the neat thing about a podcast is it's, it can be just listened to in the car, or, there's a background thing, or somebody could actually write it all out too. It's captured, and sometimes it's easy to interview people versus there's a lot more work to writing it all out. But of course, you're probably working on your third or fourth book by now, knowing you.
I wish. I know. I keep thinking, I'm like, maybe this is the precursor. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, everything is a precursor.
I know for sure. Well, and so to kind of take it back when I had heard about you forever ago, because obviously in New England I had met your old friend Dickie Hall, and but I had heard your name, and I didn't really meet you until I think I'm trying to think if it was the last NATO festival or it was one of the second to last, something like that. And I'll never forget, I was in the Backcountry Magazine truck, and I just pulled up to Mad River Glen, and I hop out, and here's you, and you have a mason jar full of moonshine.
Spring water.
Some spring water. Exactly. It was nice and clear and pure. And you said, "Hey, I'm Chip Chase. You want some moonshine?" And I was like, this is honestly the best way I could have ever met you.
Well, isn't that great? Because, I do remember that now. And then I remember you just doing such a great job on the chute, which is the famous Mad River Fall Line mogul run in the spring of the year, big moguls. And I just, I remember watching you ski down there going, it was beautiful. But anyway, that was one of the last runs of the year. And I thought, we said, there's Josh, man. And you were like, probably had to get on a plane and travel. And you were going to have to, take advantage of good old Mad River Glen, which is just a wonderful place, of course.
That place is amazing. I don't think, the whole ski it if you can thing that they have on their stickers and T-shirts and stuff is the real deal. And when you actually go there, and being from Salt Lake, of course, like the first time I go East Coast skiing, I'm going to Mad River Glen, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, what could possibly be that hard here? But the thing is it's completely different skill set, man. I mean, the trees are tight. There's moguls. It's I just shared a beautiful video of this 75-year-old guy that's been skiing the chute in alpine skis, but he's so laid back, he's so sweet, and the skiing is just perfect. Cross-country skiers invented the parallel turn, like 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. We invented that turn, so we own it. It's like people are funny about the parallel. It's like, that's my turn. It's a great thing. I'm really glad we're starting off by talking about Mad River Glen, because I'm just a super big fan of that, and I've got family up there, and we've learned a lot, because it's twice as steep as West Virginia. Yeah.
And so it was really neat to take myself and my family, especially my boys, up there and just watch everybody just learn how to ski stuff that's way steeper and harder. And it was really neat that we had the basic skills that it took to have fun on a mountain like that.
Yeah. Your boys are honestly, that was the only time I met them, but I was blown away at how good of skiers those guys are. I mean, you've done a good job raising them to really know their way around on their feet, man. That was epic.
Well, thank you very much. I think that they learned, they got snow education when they grew up. They had a couple of months where they didn't even go to school every day. It would just be snow days in some winters, and the local kids would come over here and ski for a bunch of their day off, and they would usually make jumps. And yes, one person would be jumping, and a bunch of people would be working on the jump and getting the lip right, and everybody shoveling more snow on it. And one interesting thing, if I can say it, is half the group were alpine ski boys and half of them were Nordic boys, and they all learned to ski together, and to this day they ski exactly the freaking same. If you put the downhill boys on the Freeheel here with the lightweight stuff that we use, they can do it just like my boys did, and I swear it's the same exact sport. There is no difference.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I love that. Well, tell me where, I don't even know really your backstory. Like where are you from originally?
I was born in Europe in the early 50s. My parents were, my dad was Air Force, and my mom was from upstate New York and went to college up at St. Lawrence, which is a big snowy place. And my granddad, he was a skier too back in the 30s in upstate New York, and he was a trout fisherman. So I kind of came honestly and easily through Granddaddy. And then my parents, when I was young, the first place I lived was Colorado Springs, looking at Pikes Peak as a kid. And then from there we moved up to Alaska and lived up there for 3 years. And then after that, all my youth skiing, my dad went to the Pentagon, which of course is Virginia, and so I lost skiing a little bit during those days. But I would still, on some vacations I'd go. But we weren't anything unusual, just a normal, ski family, and that's how I learned to stem Christie, on bear trap bindings, and just how just whenever you learn something young, it's way easier than learning it later.
Yeah, totally.
It was really neat. So I learned to downhill ski first, and I think as far as a cross-country skier goes, a lot of times that'll be an advantage, especially in Tele, and then sometimes it doesn't. People can learn to Tele like unbelievably good just from a Nordic background, of course. So once again, I think it's more universal than sometimes people give it credit for, because I think we're all skiing is skiing, and having your balance on the foot is, of course we all know that's where the sweet spots are.
Totally, man. Well, that's cool. So you were going from the Springs to Alaska, Europe, Virginia. I mean, that's a pretty wide array of ski culture too. You got all sorts of different types of mountains. So where, like you said, you started alpine skiing, obviously, and then when did the Telemark stuff come into play? Like, where did you cross paths with telemarking?
Well, you see, one winter I was, it was in maybe 77, and I was living in the mountains of Virginia, and I had just gotten past the Vietnam War draft, and I was kind of a CO guy, and we were back to the landers, and we were all into gardening and bees and learning from the locals and trying to be self-sufficient, and we all wanted free time, and we were all musicians and stuff, and so we were living the kind of the hippie back to the land thing. And then we had a buddy that was with me in the area, and he said, let's go to Vermont this winter, and I got a house to fix up. I got hired by them, and you just ski for the winter. I went, all right. So I did, and I started off downhill skiing that winter. But I just, right next door to us where we were doing all this work was the Sitzmark Ski Center, and I said, so I got introduced to cross country first time. Nobody in my family had ever done it, and I wasn't raised around it. But because I wasn't Norwegian or Scandi, it's just like most Americans back in the '50s did alpine skiing, by and large.
What town was that? Where the Sitzmark was?
That was in West Dover, like around Wilmington, which is Mount Snow country.
Oh, okay.
Which is it's a pretty good, decent mountain area there. There's actually still a lot of ski areas in that area. So that's the Green Mountains of Vermont. Yeah,
right off Route 100, where all those other areas are off of.
It's a cool little town. I still go back and see Kelly Kaler and some of the people I grew up a few years there. And my family lived over in Bennington, which is near there. So it was kind of like got reintroduced back into Vermont because my mom moved back to New England, where she was from, after the Virginia days, and so I I got up there, and that was the year that, I remember reading about it in a little magazine. I remember practicing on this little golf course hill at Sitzmark by myself in the evenings, just trying to figure out how to do a telemark turn, and then I practiced, and I certainly wasn't very good at it, but I was in Nordic gear, just regular, thin bindings and skis. But that spring, I got introduced to Dickie Hall and my buddy Winslow and the whole gang up at Killington at that point. And so they invited me to come up and work with them one spring. At George Washington's birthday, the place goes nuts, like everybody in the ski industry. Everybody comes out, and it's crowded. They need a lot of extra staff. So I went, yeah, I'll do it. So I came up and that changed my life right there, buddy.
Wow.
getting with those boys and getting into that whole the snow was good, and we were young, and we were skiing all day and pretty much all night too. A lot of night skiing, lots of Dickie just going out, and all our friends, we would go out, because we'd work during the day at the Nordic Center, and we were all getting paid pretty well because it was a big, these big weekends. I remember just that first year, and I would do it from year after year. I'd go back for George Washington's birthday and help those guys out for 3 days. I could almost still be doing it.
Yeah. Wow. So did you start working at that Nordic Center that Dickie was working at?
Mountain Meadows, it was called.
Right.
And that was right by Killington.
Okay.
And Dickie was a downhill skier, but we had a mutual friend that really influenced our style. His name was Winslow Air, and he's still a really close friend of ours and doing well. And he lives up in Vermont, but he came down for a couple of years with me. We became such good friends through our Vermont connection that he came down here and spent a couple of years in Virginia, where I was living, and built houses and he was the master skier. Winslow was, and Dickie will tell you this too, that he was a beautiful, beautiful skier, and he was our mentor, and Dickie too. Dickie was just Dickie's the clown of clowns. He's the most fun guy to ski with, and I know everybody's got a fun person, but he's one of them.
Oh, that's amazing. So Winslow the one that kind of introduced Telemark to that group originally, or do you remember how that all came about?
I don't think so. I'm not sure how that exactly happened. I think you're going to have to interview Dickie, of course.
Yeah,
so I don't want to take any of his lines. But oh my God, he's wonderful. I talked to him just the other day, and he was real glad that you were hunting him up.
Oh, good. I know.
You'll need more than an hour for him.
Man, no.
That guy he just got inducted into the Hall of Fame up there.
Yep.
And, so there's like this controversy about where the first skiing was. Of course, they think it was the Norwegians think it was in Norway, and then our buddy Nils Larsen, I wonder what kind of nationality he is. He says maybe it's China, and the Altai. So he almost got, his head cut off for not even thinking that.
Oh, that's funny. I've been corresponding with Nils too. He's gonna hop on the podcast too. So that's cool. I didn't even realize you guys knew each other.
I'm telling you, Josh, when I was listening to some of your podcasts, and of course I know Craig off and on through the years, and now the fellow that was doing the telly series,
Ken Emmerich.
Ken Emmerich. I met him in Colorado skiing a year or two ago, and we were hanging out skiing together, and he went, "I can't believe we've never met, dude," because we were all, name dropping all these people that we've all met through the years. It was a small group through the years.
Yeah.
And, I was fortunate to be a ski owner. I own a ski area, so I was traveling to the ski shows and trying to keep the ski spirit, super alive and well. And so it was my job to go out west every year, and it was and also to the ski shows. And then we all got together, including Glenn Blake and everybody. We all got together at these shows, and it was a real easy meeting point during that era. And they were usually in Salt Lake, and a lot of times you would and then a lot of times they were in Vegas. The Vegas ski shows were great because then you were in Bryan Head, and that was one of your stomping grounds,
Totally.
right?
Yep. Yeah, it was.
You know Murph? Is Murph still around?
Murph. Vaguely
he
sounds.
lived up at the. Yeah, he was a kind of well-known. He kind of ran the Nordic scene there when I was there. He was skiing on Jostmarks.
Oh yeah, dude, the Jostmark noodle
Yost was around.
The noodle, man.
Yeah, the noodle.
That was. That's a famous one.
Yeah, the equipment thing is really cool. I was, and of course, when I went out west in the late '70s and met Jack Marciel and Craig Hall, hung out with them.
Yep.
And of course, Rick Borkovic and Penny Street. When I started, it was kind of on the early end of it, and they were all on Kazama. Well, the second year it was Kazama Mountain Highs. The first year it was like Europa 77s, the red one with the aluminum edges, And then when they came out with the 99, that was fat, It was like, and then the Kazamas came in, and, they were so well built, but they weren't, they don't have side cut or anything like today.
No.
And I think Dickie and them still have this little retro thing where everybody brings out all that stuff.
Well, what's funny is I started on Europa 99s, 215s, and because it was what was in my garage, and that's how I got into it was reading Cross Country Downhill in 1993, and I taught myself.
I got an autographed copy of Steve Barnett's version of that.
Oh, you got an auto? That's...
Yeah, and plus I've skied with Steve and Todd Eastman and John Caldwell. I got to sip some moonshine. I brought him some shine last year with Todd Eastman, and John Caldwell, of course, is the father of Nordic skiing in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
Sophie's uncle, and Sophie's the Olympic. It's just like, the ski world, the Nordic ski world in the U.S. is small, it really is. And I mean, hopefully it's getting bigger, but I was listening to all these people like Whit Thurlow. I mean, it's just so cool. David Goodman was a writer back in those days. And, I think about the Al Johnson Memorial.
Yep.
And I went to the Telemark stuff early. And Gene Dayton, of course, is a pretty good friend of mine because he's in the Nordic world together with me. And the Telemark returns. I was listening to those stories, and I went, yeah. And that was what I did. I hitchhiked out there in the 70s, and I did all these nutty little skis. That now that I look at it, because I had Tonkin poles, and I had wood skis, and I had below the ankle molded Souverain boots, but I did have 75 millimeter. It wasn't 50.
Right. Yeah.
Which was and then, and I mean, I just went out there and skied this stuff out of maybe stupidity, but I didn't go to the high country, but I skied up all these bowls in Colorado, and when I look back at it, I go, man, that was like, you'd probably want a partner next time you did that.
I love it, dude. Just kind of loose when you look back on it. That's awesome. That's so
everybody in the world will have these moments, I'm sure, and look back and go, oh my gosh, I did that, and you know Dave Wag, right?
He started off-piste, right?
Off-piste, yeah.
I don't, Dave and I may have corresponded on email a long time ago.
You should interview him.
That'd be a good one.
Put him on your pencil his list in, and Renee Martin, Trudell, and people like that. You should do him,
totally.
Of course, and find Artie Burroughs, man, because he was Richard Nixon with a jail suit. When I saw him, when I first met him, it was a costume party, and he was going down the mountain doing these tellies with no poles with this double peace sign.
Are you serious?
Nixon, I am the president. I will be the president again. It was the coolest thing, and that was how I met him.
Oh, man. That's so interesting. I didn't realize you were... See, and that's so crazy to hear that you came out west, because I had always... I mean, coming into it much later, I always just was like, oh, Chip Chase, he's like the
little
south...
eastern hobbit.
Yeah, the southeast. Yeah. And so that's all I knew about you. And so it's interesting hearing where you crisscross paths with all these other people.
Yeah, and then I've been lucky to have a group of friends in Colorado, and every spring it's so easy to go out and we do the 10th Mountain Huts. and we go out and spend a week just skiing our brains off in the spring, and that way I can, really hone my skills and just, and it's just the funnest thing. Everybody in the world knows how fun a hut ski is. It's just, everybody brings out the best in everybody.
Yeah.
And what are we doing today? Well, we're going skiing all day. Just pack your lunch, man. Get the water. Let's go. And it's just, and then at night, everybody's like, everybody's like out doing each other, cooking, and it's just, and then out comes the guitars, and it's just it's so fun.
I love that, man.
I like cross country skiers, and it's like I kind of. If you want a cool business, put cross-country skiing in front of your name of your business, and 99% of the people will go, "That's a lot of work," or they'll shake their head no. And what you end up with is this 1% of the people that drip into your place. My place is never locked. It's just the most honest. I swear, you couldn't pick. It's about one of the coolest. And we are a mix of downhill and cross country. Whitegrass is this, steep Nordic center that uses these kind of flat, wider skis, a lot of times without edges, but real soft and real easy to plow and ski around on. And I've got lots of people, most of my clientele are younger, and they say, we wouldn't be a cross-country skier if it wasn't a place like Whitegrass. It's, there's so many steep trails, and there's so much fun with the vertical. So you not only, it's not totally backcountry skiing. It's this really kind of neat blend of touring backcountry. And then you have these lighter boots and lighter skis and bindings. And, you usually don't have adjustable poles. You just use your Nordic pole, It's just, it's really simple. It's kind of cool. And it works real well with our little, niche that we have, the terrain. We only have we have 1,200 vert, so it's not all that much. But
that's pretty good, though.
It's right out the door. I mean, you start, but so we're teaching people how to cross country downhill a lot.
Yeah.
And with good, good simple technique and nothing fancy, just, and then what happens, as you well know, is people are out doing it and they're watching it and people are seeing it and go, I see it. I see how they're doing that. It's like, and everybody gets inspired. And, and then the climbing thing, of course, if you get all these mountain biking, and I'm a mountain biker and know all the mountain bikers. I'm a caver, know all the cavers, and I do whitewater, know the whole whitewater world here in West Virginia. We all know each other. So it just turns out that they all bring their friends and go, you want to, have a fun weekend? Well, I'll take you up to these mountains, and this guy can rent you skis. We'll have some soup and a couple beers when we get back, and I'll murder you.
I love it.
Because this person hasn't skied yet, or something, and it's just that's a really cool part of my sport is people saying I'm bringing my friends here next weekend.
Oh, for sure.
Make sure that because it is its own little niche on skiing. It's kind of like it's not what you think. Cross country skier, yes. Yeah,
kind of going back in time a little bit, where did the idea to go to West Virginia come? And then was Whitegrass like an idea right from the get-go, or how did that, what was the catalyst to take you from, hitching around and skiing in the West and the East and, all that to this?
Well, I was living in the mountains of Virginia at the time, and I always kind of wanted to move to West Virginia because it was more rural and more back in the mountains and just wilder and woollier, and it's just more my style. I didn't, I was a kind of like living homestead style. We were our own little thing that during that era. But it turns out that one weekend I saw it in a magazine. They said Davis, West Virginia, this little cross-country ski race. I went, oh my gosh! And I was sitting over in the mountains of Virginia, and I had started my own little Nordic center at this one-room schoolhouse on top of the mountain, and it drifted. It was like at 4,000 feet, and it caught snow. Nothing like it catches here, but it was a good winter. And I had a little cross-country ski center because it was something I could do in the winter, and then, picked apples in the fall, and then we would I was a chimney sweep. I taught myself.
No way.
Yeah, so I was kind of like one of these, like, a seasonal workers.
Sure.
And I said, what am I going to do in the winter? And I said, I'm going to run a little cross-country ski center. And so I had the skills from, Vermont and my old downhill skills. And then I guess a lot of little spirit about it, but I used to store my skis in these little chicken shed of my neighbors, and then in the wintertime I'd take them up to this one-room schoolhouse, and we would teach people, how to ski out of there. And it was like that was like 1979, and it was we were, of course, ahead of our time, but we were also in an area that wasn't perfect for it. But, it worked out good, and we learned a lot. And then we heard about this thing in West Virginia, and I'll never forget it. We came over and met this friend of mine, the Wild Bill Moore, and he was the naturalist, and he was the ski instructor guy, and he showed us all around Canaan Valley, West Virginia, which is this really cool little snow belt in the Mid-Atlantic. I mean, it's the snowiest place within 500 miles of where it is. It catches a lot of snow. And so anyway, it turned out that we had better ski skills, but he had the naturalist, and I had the climatology down. So anyway, that's how it started. We skied in, and he took us on a tour, and we went, oh my God, this is a great area. And, and then we actually, at one point we said, let's go to Cabin Knob on the map. And we were looking, there's got to be a cabin up there, but it's like a name of a knob. So anyway, there is no cabin up there, but we were on the Wild Goose Chase, and we went over to see this cabin. And on the way to the cabin, we skied through Whitegrass's trails. It's a total coincidence. And we actually skied down and looked in the building, and I said, this is an old downhill ski area. Here's the slope, there's the old boots and skis are in there. It's kind of abandoned building, and hadn't been used for, 7 or 8 years. It's just been sitting there. And so we said, wow. And so we skied back up and around, looked for the cabin, couldn't find it. Then we came back and we said, let's find out who owns that old ski building. I said, that would make a cool ski area, And that's how it started. It was like kind of like a little, like most things in life, you just sort of like stumble into them.
Wow. And so I guess I didn't know that. So Whitegrass originally was a downhill area with a lift or like a rope tow or something?
Yeah, it had 4 rope tows. It had primitive snowmaking. It's got a little snowmaking pond, and it ran from 1959 to 1965 or so. And it was actually the 3rd ski area in the Canaan Valley area because the Washington Ski Club, Washington, D.C. Ski Club, built a rope tow on Cabin Mountain nearby where we are in 1951, and they ran till 61. And then there was another little ski area in the late 50s that was there. So there were actually 3 of them that were in the history. And they said that the pilots flying into Washington from World War II saw the snow up there late in the year, like, May. They see these big drifts of snow, went, holy shit, man. So they actually came out and invented skiing. This is the most unskiing clientele, and there actually is not much population up here anyway. So my county has like about 5,000 people in it.
Wow.
And the nearest traffic light is an hour away, and the next traffic light's another hour away. And it's like, 3 to 4 hours to an airport, so we're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And if you can imagine in 1940s when they saw the snow flying in over on the landing pattern into Washington, they go, holy smokes, man, let's go check it out. And like the history is there's this Warden's Hotel, and then skiers started coming, and they started doing rope tows, and they had, so there was a skiing culture here, but like a lot of people say, it was regular skiing.
Right.
or real skiing. And I went, now come on. It's like, so anyway, so when we brought cross country to the area, Bill Moore had already been starting it here at the parks. So we weren't the first people in the state, but we were so anyway, we stumbled into that old ski building, and we talked to the farmer man, and his name is Randall Reed, and I met him when I was 27, and I'm now 67, and he was in his late 50s. He's going to be 99.
Oh, wow.
Years old in a month.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I've been working with him with a handshake that we did in 1981. We just said, I'll help you on the farm. You let us use your old building.
No way.
And it's
handshake
I swear
deal?
to God, it's been that's the deal. It's been I help him on the farm, and I still do to this day. And then he lets me use that building and fix it up. I mean, all the fixing up I do. And so the Whitegrass is actually it was built in 1959 as a downhill ski area, and it's now still rolling. And and his daughter is in her. She's healthy and everything, so she will inherit it as soon as Randall passes on, which has to be, I would think, fairly one of these days. I hope he proves that you can live forever. It's probably the chaga tea or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I bet when you guys did a handshake deal in 1981, you probably wouldn't think you'd be sitting here talking about each other in 2020.
It's amazing. It's it's like everything. It's like so many great things in life. It's just let it happen, folks. It's a trip. It's such a cool thing. And I'm really proud of what you do, and looking at you and your life too looks absolutely fantastic. And
man, thanks.
We all learn from each other, and we all pull from each other's energy. And I love people, and I'm good at making people feel at home at my business, and my wife is like this incredibly awesome, gentle, genuine, fantastic person as well that has been doing the food there. And if you can't get people through the skiing, you get to them by the food, all the good cooking through all the years. And she's taught so many people and done such a great job with the food. And that's been, I mean, that place is such a cafe that it's so cool to create something where you want to go skiing, but you go, man, it's so freaking comfortable right here in this lodge right now. I don't even want to go out and ski, man. It's like you create this, beyond coffee house vibe, and lots of good music, lots of good smells, and just a small little place where it's just acoustic, and it's got ski stuff all over the walls, just history, and it makes a genuine experience for people. So anyway, I feel lucky to be in the business that doesn't necessarily pay all that great, but it's been the benefits of knowing all these people that you're interviewing, and people like you, and just all these folks I've met through the years. Bob Woodward, Woody, you should get him. You should, Steve Heineman, David Goodman. These are you. I'll email you.
Yeah, you
some
need
of the
to send
people
me.
That you could do this. You could do this. I was looking at the Ski to Die Club. The people, Patrick, Munn. I stayed with him last year, and I know Annie Eastman, Todd, and Ron Conowitz. All these people. Jeb Porter from Vermont. It's really been great. I mean, these people we all pretty much know each other.
Yep.
Through the world of cross country skiing, and definitely Telly too.
Yeah, it's interesting because like your era, and I think it's been interesting as I've traveled to Norway over the years, and like obviously I'm super into the history of Telemark, and I collect stuff, and it being an American Telemark skier, I obviously the Europa 99s, and I started on a solo snowfields and Normark bindings, and like that was what so like that was kind of my intro to it, and looking at Barnett's book, and then later, watching, Revenge of the Telemarkers, and, meeting guys like you. What's interesting to me is that you guys in the late 70s here really added like a Nordic culture to it that is, it's kind of funny to say that, right? Because it started in Norway, but when you go back to the roots of it in Norway, it's not as Nordic as what you guys were doing in the late 70s, which was kind of the floppier, light, all this gear you're talking about. And so it's cool to see the kind of techniques you guys came up with to, just kind of mix those two things together, because that's really what was available. You guys were taking cross-country skis and then learning telemark turns on it. So it's pretty cool.
I think you hit a really good point. And as far as doing flips and tricks and skiing well, the Norwegians, would hands down, they're wonderful. They're the best skiers in the world, all through Sweden too, and Finland as well. But most Europeans are great skiers, but they're not. The Americans have the advantage of having, Hollywood, Southern California, skateboarding, rock and roll. I mean, Europeans are not known to be hippies, and Americans were, So
right.
we were better at being hip, and it's even to this day, Americans are innovators in that way, and it's maybe part of our culture, and that's why the COVID thing is so bad in this country, is because we cannot conform. And, and the hippies would say, don't conform, and a lot of other groups too. So, I mean, the Norwegians are now probably the best telemarketers in the world, always were, but they weren't doing, according to the history I know, with Dickie Hall and Rick Borkovic being what I would consider, and Steve Barnett probably is the earliest that I knew about, they Americanized the telemark, and they brought it on. They would separate it, and even to this day, people like to separate the sports, where you have Nordic skiing, you have skating, you have touring, general touring, you have backcountry, you'll have NTN on the slopes, but and that's there's all these different ways that you can do it, but to be able to mix it all up, that would be an American.
Yes.
That would probably take the weird gear and and then learn, we all learn now that we have this wonderful YouTube thing going on and everything. We all learn from each other. We all say, shit, I saw it. You don't even have to see it live now. You just see it on a film. It's like, I saw that person ski like that, and I'm going to ski like that, or whatever,
yeah.
in any sport. So, but it's so cool, the Norwegian, because I just revere them so much, and I get them out of the embassy, and they come to Whitegrass. They love me. I always have a little shine with them. They love alcohol, and they don't like the other stuff that some Americans like, but they'll drink you under the table, but they always ski for free at Whitegrass. If you're from Norway, don't even have to, it's free skiing.
Oh,
just as a nationality.
That's amazing. No, I mean, and what's funny too is because you're talking about that separation, and that was one thing when I've always felt grateful that I started on the gear I did, because it was 1993. Like, starting on Europa 99s made no sense, because that was like early 80s, and but it's helped me connect better with guys like you, because you guys skied on that gear at one point, but I think what it's taught me, and when I opened my shop, people, I think, were expecting this modern shop, which it is. Freeheel Life's a modern telemark shop, but it's like, from day one, when I was here by myself, and then Ashley had started it with me, and then Taylor came in, who's now our shop manager. We always said, the key, you need to be able to talk to a customer from 1977 gear, and you need to be able to talk to the NTN customer just the same, and you got it. And honestly, dude, that's how we built our business. Was all the other shops were turning the old timers away, and they were like, well, why are you even using that old gear? And it's been cool, because we actually have made it so when you start working here, we actually have an initiation, and we make kids ski leathers and pins under the lift line on the gnarliest stuff we can find, no warm-up runs, and that's kind of like how we bond
Trial
with
by fire.
Yeah, dude, and it's been so great because it really bonds us all together. But I'll tell you, people say, "Oh, this is Telemark and that's not Telemark," and honestly, we ski retro gear all the time here, and it's all Telemark, but it's like you learn how to see the mountain differently on that old stuff too. It's like a different finesse, and that's what I noticed about your boys too. And that's the one thing that really stood out to me. Remember, I don't know if you remember, but they had a mogul contest.
Okay. Yep.
When we were at NATO Festival, which is, for those that haven't heard of it, it's the North American Telemark organization that was started by Dickie Hall. Anyways, the mogul comp, I remember watching your boys, man, and it was like the first time where I think I kind of understood what type of skiing you guys did, which was kind of a mixture of everything. It wasn't just like hit the mogul run. They were like doing jumps, and then they would like hit the mogul. It was just total like freestyle in the like true pure form of the word, and I just remember being like, that's cool. Like, that's totally unique from anything I've ever seen before. And I don't know, just it's cool. I can now that I'm talking to you in person, I can see how what you've incorporated this spirit of skiing as a whole, and that's cool.
Well, it's like, I think it started out with like the hit of the 60s, and I people come into Whitegrass and they think it's like a hit of, it's retro, and it's like, and that, that comes through the family, owning it. So it is a mom pop ski area. And, so you got all the different generations of the kids that are involved, and the husband, wife, and all this. So that, makes it warm. My job now is to, walk people to their cars and just be the kind of like the good vibe tech, it's just like my job now is just to sort of make people feel, welcome, which I've always done. But my favorite thing is out, walking people to their car and tucking their kids into the little, snapping them in and waving people goodbye. And that is pretty cool for a ski area. They're going, is that a ski area, or is that, people come in and they just feel at home. And I think that in anything you do in life, if you're lucky to create that easiness and that home feeling, then people want to be a part of it, and then they don't have to, what I mean, they people can come in and be private and quiet. I mean, there's no qualms about it, but I just feel lucky that I've been able to create, and I got to hand it to my family and my friends and my staff that have supported me on this, and all of us that it's as you well know in life, it's a big group effort, and you do it all together. And what's really neat is when your customers are part of that group, where there's like this blurred line between, do you work here or you just,
Totally.
And
yeah,
how you make people feel. It's like, hey, man, come on, Chip, get your ski scraper out. You can show me how to do this. And, Glenn Blake making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something at White. Well, it wasn't a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but he was making a sandwich at Whitegrass. I still have one of those photos. Him and Kimberly, they love the place, and that guy is so cool. He's one of my heroes too, because he just loves skiing and people and he's so in the moment. So if he's with you, he's there. He's not out there, and he just loves where he is, and he likes all these small ski areas, and small is beautiful, and he. I'll tell you what I like is the UP, man. That's where I like, it's like, I love New England, of course, and it's just so rip-snorting all through New England, all these little cool ski areas, but I really like UP, and I think that you've heard about Mount Bohemia, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, what's funny that as you're describing Whitegrass, I was like, oh, man, you got it. So I actually went up to the Midwest Telefest this year, and it was in a place called Porcupine State Park. I don't know if you've ever heard. I know that. You do?
I know where that is.
Because it literally sounds like your spot. You might actually have more vert than they do, but it's on the
Not
coast.
Not by much.
Yeah, it's on the coast of Lake Superior, and it's got one lift, and then it's just like a state park. You can walk, you can hike, you can go do whatever you want, man. But the vibe, oh man, those people up there, really awesome history too, man. It reminds me a lot of what you're talking about.
I just adore it. You know, I mean, being in the ski industry my whole life, and now pretty much, I've met all kinds of people across the spectrum, and it's great. But I kind of do like of course, I am, you know, sort of proud to say that I'm a fiddle and maple syrup, you know, kind of a fern guy. You know, we just got 2.7 inches of rain overnight.
Oh, geez.
Can you believe it? It was a drought beforehand, so it's just like the rivers are running and the mushrooms are popping and the garden's going, that's cool, man. But it is wet here, and we, you know, of course, we have a lot of challenges. But I always love the kind of the East because it's so easy to live back in the woods back in here, and I kind of practiced when I was in my 20s and back to the land thing, and so yeah. But you know that we have this thing called the Crested Butte Hop, you know, and it was this like stem Christie with the ski tailing behind it. You kind of stem Christie the first one with a little hop.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
The Crested Butte Hop, man. We used to do that, and we met people, and of course we had been to Crested Butte, and I did this Save the Lady. I went on the ski tour where we all started in Aspen at Ashcroft. And we skied over Pearl Pass to Crested Butte, and we were welcomed by the council, and it was all fun. John Denver flew over and tipped his wings, and we spent the night up at the pass, and a group of us Vermonter boys and myself, we had dug this big, huge snow cave and stuff, and then we came into the butte. There was the hot tub spot back in then, and of course Craig Hall and all these people were, and Rick and everybody was welcoming us, and they did a big banquet and a party, and it was all PR to save Mount Emmons, the Red Lady. So that was one of our first, and then we would, of course, ride the Silver Queen, which coincidentally ended up in my little valley, was used by this little timberline ski area next to me. So it's pretty cool.
Wow.
History there. But yeah, that was like, and, you know, that kind of stuff there, that was you know, I am fortunate to have, you know, kind of a monopoly down here, but I also am fortunate that I did learn from Dickie Hall, Mad River Glen, and then people, the early Telly thing out west, and Gene Dayton and all these people, and Barney Brewer and all this, you know, all these early folks that, God, it's kind of interesting how you end up being kind of older than you think when I look at it. It's really neat. And now you got Brian Moore, of course, and people like, you know, of course, Wendy and Ben Bridgewater and all these folks that you probably, I'm sure you've met all these folks.
I've crossed paths with both of those people. Yeah,
and Adam Howard, of course, and
oh yeah, Howie was my boss for a while.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I was just reading about it. You know, of course, I met Bardini back in the day, but Alan, I remember he worked with Ned Gillette, and back in the trap days. And so I skied trap last year too. They had a Nordic. You know, I like going to these cross country ski area conferences. They're in Canada, they're in Quebec, they're in BC. They're in, you know, Colorado, New Mexico, boom, boom, boom. And last year they did it up in Lake Placid, New York. And, of course, you run into all these wonderful Nordic directors. And everybody just adores spending time together, of course, this little industry thing. Yeah. And, now we're trying to work with COVID and all the planning for next year and how we're going to distance people. And, by the way, Nordic skiing this year is forecasted to be, according to I don't know how they come up with this, 30% busier.
Yeah,
last year.
I believe it, man, because like we were kind of stressed out in March. You know, we're like, oh, what are we gonna do? And you know, obviously the downhill component is maybe tough, but then we see like what happened to bike sales over the summer, and like we don't. Yeah, I'm not even a
and the
biker.
Backcountry stuff in March when you guys. You know, the ski area is one of the worst spreaders of the COVID, evidently. So they said that every shop that's had telegear and skins and everything sold right out. Boom. As soon as the lifts quit, went, lifts? We don't need no stinking lifts. It's like these Nordic skiers are going, what are those things called that ruin the uphill skiing that are flying in the air? What do you call those damn things? It's like they don't even, it's like we got 1,200 vert both ways.
Yeah.
We don't have it one. We get it both ways, man.
Yeah, you're in a good, honestly, being near a metropolitan, or well, I guess you're not like right by there, but I mean, people can get to you from probably some of the bigger cities, seems like it might not be too hard to distance people, because they're on the trails and walking around outside.
Well, yes, I worry about the lodge.
The lodge.
And the bathroom at the lodge, and little simple things like that. And I worry about my staff. Right. And my family getting, whatever. Maybe by then it'll be somewhat different. I don't know, not very much, but
No, so I hear you.
I think for me being a mature business and me being a lifestyle guy in front of dollars and cents, I would say safety of my family and staff is number one. Now, number two would be safety of all my customers. And, because God forbid, I wouldn't want to have people get it from coming to Whitegrass. And there's a tracing thing, you know what it's like. It's crazy right now and that way. So anyway, that's like any good business person. You have to look at what's your priority, what comes to the top of your list right now. And of course, to me, it's like, Lori just said to me this morning, that side door that goes into the rental shop that we, haven't used in 30 years? Maybe we should get that running again and, maybe cut it in half and have an open window with a piece of plexiglass and da-da-da. She's thinking. We're just thinking about how we can, if people want to come and ski and not come in the door, fine. That's not even a problem. Come at it. We're not going to check your ticket. It's a 100% honesty policy. If you want to ski for free, just don't let me know because I don't care. What I don't know doesn't hurt me. It's just like, I didn't hear you. But anyway, so, so it turns out that you just let people, as far as people skiing the mountain, I told my staff the other day, I said, we're putting up all the snow farming and the snow fencing. We're doing all the trail work, and we're getting ready for people to ski the mountain. As far as charging and, all that stuff, we'll worry about that. And getting people in and out of the building, we'll worry about that as we, we'll be thinking about it every single moment of the day,
Totally.
But anyway, I didn't know if the podcast was going to be about, post-COVID skiing, but it's a big deal, man. It's a big freaking deal.
It's a weird topic I know. I actually am trying to track down I have one guy from the Ski Area Management magazine. I might try to get on the podcast. I've been talking with him because it's interesting just trying to figure out what it may look like. And, it's kind of one of those things. I mean, you've been in it so long. It's like, I don't think anybody's ever seen anything quite like it. So it'll be really interesting for the big players and how the Icon and all these big, I guess they're already doing it over in Australia and New Zealand and anyway. That's a whole nother subject. Totally. That's okay though.
But taking care of your staff, your staff is number one, folks. Of course. Making sure that nobody's getting sick because you're in business. That's where I would feel just terrible.
Yeah, me too.
You worked for me and got it, Yeah. It's like awful. But anyway, have you met Glenn Blake?
I've met Glenn briefly. I haven't had any in-depth conversations with him. I love that. Honestly, he's such a. I grew up in that era. All of the Greg Stump movies and stuff. But that's what I grew up on. So, man, I've always really respected that. Of course, he's got this, huge mohawk and everything, but I think like you said, as you get to know him, he's just like he's like a skier, he's like really in.
Exactly.
He's got like all these cool, but like, I think it was the year, so I was in the Warren Miller movie in 2005, and I think he also had a segment in that, and I'll never forget because he had all these like retro setups that he was wearing, and he was showing all these like old hot dog tricks and stuff that he knew from like each era. He had like little step tricks that he was doing, and then he had like Wayne Wong style tricks. And man, I just remember being like, what a cool dude. Like he knows all these different things from different eras that make up skiing, and I always really respected that.
Right on, man. Now, if I can change the subject, have you seen the movie The White Ecstasy?
No, I haven't. What is that one?
It's New England Ski Museum sells it, and it was filmed in 1932 in St. Anton, Austria, and it's got Hannes Schneider and this gal named Leni Riefenstahl.
Whoa.
Who is, Leni becomes obviously helps with the Nazis, and she helped put out the film Triumph and Will, and it was right in 32, and it's really interesting because this guy named Arnold Frank filmed it, and Hannes Schneider, they're both Jewish, and Lenny was the star of the movie. But anyway, it's the coolest ski movie ever, and Glenn knows all about it. And I was just kind of looking at some old pictures, trying to, sharpen up my memory before I talk to you. And there's a picture of Glenn holding out this little thing at Whitegrass that says, everything I learned about skiing, I learned on ecstasy. Which, of course, is a play on words, of course. But anyway, this movie called White Ecstasy, I recommend it highly. Dude, it is the best skiing you have ever seen. You gotta just look it up. You can actually go on the web and find chunks of it. The White Ecstasy, and it's in German. I'm not sure how to say Weiss. Something with an R, but anyway, it's the New England Ski Museum has it, but it's an hour and a half of these guys chasing. It's like chasing each other in through the Alps in 1932 with these super long skis, and their heels are free. They're going in every direction at once, and it's got every ski technique that you'll ever see in your life, and this before skiing was cool.
Yeah, that's early.
32, man.
That's super early.
Yeah, it's early. It's early shit, and it'll blow your mind. Anyway, love it,
dude. Thanks for telling me that. I love that kind of stuff. That's
the best movie, and it's cool because Glenn and I really struck it on that one. He went, "You love this movie too?" I went, "It's the only thing I play at Whitegrass." yeah.
That's like it's funny that you what did you call that turn? The Crested Butte hop?
The Crested Butte hop.
Well, it's funny that you brought that up because I feel like that's what we do at our shop is we play all those old NATO movies, and I'm always showing the guys that move, and I was working on that move at our we went to Pebble Creek, this little ski area in southern Idaho, right before COVID happened. And I was showing some of the guys, I was like, check this move out. This is that Dickie Hall move. But I didn't know what you called it, so that's funny.
Well, that's really cool that I noticed on your website that you were sold out of Dickie's movies and stuff.
I don't even, I know. That's why I need to get a hold of them. I don't even know if they exist anymore. So
yeah, I don't know. Get in touch with them. Yeah. He's kind of, he's such a cool dude. You love him, man.
I know.
And that was really neat that I was thinking about it. I've met Nat Ross actually through mountain biking.
Oh, no way.
But I never knew him skiing, and got in touch with him when I was in Vail a couple of years ago. And but it was really cool to look back and to see some of the people that you Dylan Crossman I got a picture of him doing a double reverse somersault at the Mad River bump contest.
Oh yeah,
it's like, I mean, just some of these early people that, well, they're not early. There's just these kids that are super cool, and I'm so glad that you're promoting all these luminaries, I guess you could call them.
Yeah, no, Nat's another good one, kind of like 90s, 90s into the early 2000s.
Nat,
yeah,
man. And then I started going to the Berkey, which is a cross-country ski race up in the upper Midwest, which is God's gift to Nordic. I mean, it is the most friendly. How you doing? Where are you from? Here, drink a beer, have some pasta. Come on. It's like everybody wants to know where you're from, what you do. There's so much. The whole community within hundreds. They come out and they help. And this is like this this 52K race that where people just do it for the hell of it, and or they go fast or they go medium fast. I mean, just people get married around the thing. People have, I mean, it is the coolest event, the American Birkebeiner.
Yep.
And, you meet a lot of cool people there, and a lot of those people, of course, tell you a little bit. I remember during that race that we went out, the first year we ever went up there, we went out skiing to warm up because we got there early, and we were to this big hill, and we were skiing this hill up and down because it's kind of like what we do on our skis all the time, we're just up and down, up and down. So it turns out that was like this, they call it Snowmobile Hill, and evidently there's like hundreds and hundreds of people that pull their snowmobiles in there to watch all these people go down the biggest hill on the Birkie. And so when I was skiing, I was skating along, and I didn't know where I was. All of a sudden I went, oh, yeah, I recognize this. This is the area where we were skiing, And I come up over this hill, and I went, oh, here's that big hill. And, man, there were so many people on the mountain all thrashed. I stepped to the inside and, basically tucked the thing, and because I had practiced on this little thing and did this, big old bank telemark turn at the right. And I got this big, applause. Everybody in the snowmobile stuff went, holy shit. And I remember getting to that. I had my hillbilly hat on and this West Virginia WV shit on me and stuff. When I got to the finish line, this dude said, who are you, dude? Man, you talk to everybody on the race course, man. I said, who are you, man? It was such a cool event. And then I got on the gosh darn TV station that night, because I gave them the sound bites they want. I remember saying, you guys should be running the military of the United States. It's the most organized event I've ever seen, the friendliest thing. As soon as I got off the airport in Minneapolis, it's just been like down home. He said, I live in the Appalachian Mountains, but you guys don't need mountains. You got the North Woods and all these lakes. And I said, this is the most fantastic event I've ever watched. And they went, when I got back to my lodge I was staying in, all my buddies went, you're on the TV, man. It was just like such a cool. But anyway, little events like that where you get somebody that's, all wound up about skiing and Nordic skiing, put the Birkie on your list. I mean, of course, the people in the Midwest are going, duh, right now, going, shit, I've been doing it for 100 years. But anyway, it's a great event.
Yeah, no, I agree. And honestly, I think...
And I did a telly turn in the middle of it.
You're representing. I like it.
Yeah,
dude.
I did the big telly.
Yeah. I feel like a lot, like when I went back there and I keep saying like the Midwest is kind of this, it kind of reminds me of what we're talking about too, is some of these smaller resorts I think in the future have a really good chance of helping skiing survive just because it's getting so expensive other places. And so when I go to these little hometown hills, I'm like, this is great. Like, it's so sweet. Whether it's a little rope tow or it's like your place where you hike up and down, like it's just cool that it's accessible to people, and they can, enjoy skiing. And it doesn't have to be this like, 3,000 vertical foot mountain. You only need a couple hundred vert to make it fun.
Well, so. I think the gear's getting better, and I think the interest is growing once again. And, of course, I've been doing it since the late 70s, so I've seen it go up and down. The interest in being in shape, the interest in being physically fit, the interest in doing something on your own, or the interest of doing something that's less expensive. I've seen it go up and down. It's not necessarily, it's interesting. And it's right now they say it's going to be up. And it's kind of like, so we're gonna, we're in a really good position because our mountain is, about 2,500 acres, so we got some room, and then there's a wilderness area behind that and a state park and whatnot. So I got access I can put a lot of people on the mountain, and there's a great ski patrol and lots of infrastructure for injuries if that does happen. And so we're ready for people. And our sport around here is still just like people go, you got to be kidding me, cross-country skiing? I thought I was going to have to go to Norway to do that.
Yeah.
Wow. There's a lot of innocence around here, or naive. And it's just people, it's not New England. It's the Southeast. And I'm telling you, the hillbillies ski in Norway. The hillbillies ski in Norway, but the hillbillies in West Virginia, they don't ski. It's just not. I'll bust my ass on them things. You ain't going to get me going there, and I ain't going to ski the wrong way. I know that. I mean, it's fantastic.
I love it. Well, real quick before we go, I was going to ask you, I get a question a lot about what kind of setups would be good for people sometimes for that rolling hill terrain like you guys have, because these days, because we have such heavy gear, it's real downhill oriented, or the backcountry gear is a lot beefier, and Nordic has kind of gone, it's like skating or classic. It's almost like that middle of the road setup. Like, and I always tell people, like, I'll roll like I'll still roll like a 3-pin binding if I just want like rolling terrain and whatnot. Like, you got any tips for the kind of cruiser telemark crowd that are, living in the Midwest, or even someone that's here just wanting to take the dog out and cruise around the foothills?
Oh, I would say the Fisher skis, they have a steel edge, but they're soft, and they've got the good bases on them now. And they make a 68, a 78, and an 88, and 98, unbelievable. So they do, I think that's a really sweet little ski for people that are in more mountainous terrain than us, especially when you're out west where you have all kinds of conditions. You see, our ski matches our mountain pretty good, and most people might have a quiver a little bit to where if it snows a lot of powder or something, they'll have a wider ski and a bigger boot, and they'll be trying to climb up and down more. But if it's a day for trails, they could, our favorite thing at Whitegrass is a NNBC, which doesn't work out west as well because there's so much snow out there. It's so much powder that they're really hard to work when you have all this freaking snow in the binding and the boot, in my opinion. Then they can break out in the woods, and you're out in the backcountry. It doesn't work in your part of the world, of course. So when I go out west, of course, I'm on a wide ski. But for the Appalachians, and I would say it was interesting because when I was in the UP, we were skiing on our gear that we like, and people were looking at it going, whoa, because it was a little bit different. And we were skiing on the ice, on the lakes, where the wind blows all the crap up on the edges. We were like backcountry skating with our gear, where if I had skating gear on, I'd have to be an expert. I'd have to be from Norway to do it on skating skis. But my favorite is Rossi made it. It was called the Trail. It's like pretty much 68, 60, 65, and it's super soft. And it's got a waxless base on it, and it climbs a tree, and it turns on a dime. It's like it has no steel edge. It has an offset plastic edge, and Alpina makes the same ski with a steel edge, and I don't like it as much. It's just too stiff. It doesn't. People go, and everybody looks at it and go, "This ski has no edge." It's like this. It's a hologram. I said, well, an edge is where the side meets the bottom. I mean, I'm into physics. There is an edge on there, and they went, well, yeah, but there's no edge. And I went, oh, you mean a steel edge? And they went, oh yeah. So a lot of people think if you don't have a steel edge, it won't work. But in our snow, in our world, where it's either snowing or it's melting, it doesn't get icy very much, like New England. We don't ski on ice very often, so that's when a steel edge might come together. But everybody should know that a steel edge doesn't help you turn. It's of course the skier, but it's also the flex of the ski. So if you have a ski that's soft and mushy, that's what I look for. Something without much camber. Now you're going to suffer whenever you kick and glide and try to pick up speed, but you really gain when you climb and whenever you turn. When you turn a ski that's super soft in the middle like that, it's it's gonna, that. I mean, I'm not a ski maker like Nils, so that's going to be your next guy. But it's just like we ski on soft skis that are about 70 wide on the tip, and we ski in shallow snow, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 inches, sometimes more. But we're not that ski and binding a boot would not work in the Utah very well until it turned to corn or something, and then it would work.
Yeah,
when it's solid. But you get into deep snows, why would you wear that stuff? I mean, it just all depends where you go. So
sure.
I would say go with your local shop, and of course, people like you know your mountain and your area, and you love your customers, and and so that's what is going to happen. And then you can get these gosh darn Facebook pages and Instagram things where people are asking questions, and people adore answering questions on this thing. It's like everybody's suddenly an author and an editor, and everybody's like everybody's an instant equipment expert, and
we call them keyboard warriors.
Keyboard warriors, I like it.
Sometimes it's good,
more
sometimes
man,
it's
less
bad.
Ski. We used to say more man, less ski, And Bardini always said, "You ski, I ski, we ski."
Oh man.
Good stuff.
I wish I could have met him too. That'd be
Bardini, and then Don Cordon's a cool guy. This guy named Dondo. You should, he's a really cool guy to interview. Early Nordic. He's one of John Caldwell's neighbors over there in Putney, Vermont. Great guy. But it is cool that you can take West Virginia moonshine to Vermont, and the people in Vermont totally freak out on it. Oh. And it's like, why don't you guys have moonshine? You're exactly the same place. It's all these little traditions. It's really neat. And, when Dickie used to have that telly party, we would bring so much shine up there. And it's not like anybody would get drunk on it, but there's like 150 people. And now in COVID days, you could never, well, it is antiseptic. But anyway,
maybe that's,
we're actually cleaning with it.
Maybe the shine is the answer.
Actually, to use the heads, man, you get that real toxic when you make liquor. There's this real toxic section called the heads, and then the hearts is what you want, and then the tails get funky again in the process. So the heads are like, most everybody throws it immediately out because it's totally toxic. But now people are using it for cleanser as a handy wipe. And my friend that's got a distillery, we were there last night. We went caving yesterday, and on the way back from caving, we stopped at my buddy's distillery. And then my buddy that owns a distillery is the best skier in the area. He's one of my son's buddies, and he's one of those examples of an alpine skier that can frickin' telly. Because they all skied together for their whole life. They all skied together, and they all learned together. And there's only so much you can do on an NNBC. But all those guys, anyway, so it was really cool to see him. And, of course, I bought a bunch of legal stuff from him. And I didn't have to, but I did. Cause
that's good. Supporting the cause.
Yeah. Hey, man, it's great, man. I'm really, really proud of you and what you're doing and the whole thing. It's really cool. And you should get a hold of Bob Woodward, old Woody. He's the guy that started that Dagfin Rag Award and stuff. And he was a guy that used to own Rotafella, and he was of course, the troll guy and the super telly guy, and invented the NNBC and all that. Was a guy named Dagfin Rag, but he died unfortunately on a procedure, a regular procedure, and then got a blood clot and died at a young age. But anyway, they gave an award out in his name because he was super passionate, and he used to cuss out Solomon and shit at the ski shows. That was his competition. I mean, he would stand up and just raise hell, and everybody loved him for it. It's like, dude, there's a guy with some passion.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and
man.
Dickie had this thing called Blops. There was this thing in the old days called EPSTIA. It was like Eastern Professional Ski Touring Instructors Association. And that was the beginning of, before PSIA took Nordic and snowboarding in. And they had their own separate thing. And then Dickie had this thing called Blopsti, which was blown out professional ski. And he used to break these skis, and then when they break in half, because we would break skis readily in those days, doing what we were doing, he would try to sell the skis for half price.
Oh, no.
Broken in half. And he would put this duct tape, which they call Vermont Chrome. He'd stick that on the ski, and he'd go for sale half price in the parking lot or somewhere.
Oh, my God.
And try to sell the ski for half price, broken in half. You got to interview him.
You guys are true originals, man. I'm so glad you decided that you could hop on and talk to me, man. I love it, and I can't wait to come visit you. Like, I really want to come down and ski with you. And
Whitegrass is a really cool place. If you you know, I'm trying to say I'll pay you $1,000 if you can get a Vermonter. It's actually against state law to come, you know, about 350 miles south to go skiing, because a Vermonter has to sneak into New Hampshire late at night in an alley and they have to come back in through the Adirondacks in New York, because if they found out that they went south to ski at Whitegrass, they would lose their
credibility.
Their whole citizenship. You know, they'd have to be, you know, they would be ostracized immediately. But yeah, I really appreciate that. Whitegrass is a super. I'm just so happy that the skiing world has done what they've done, and they've made it possible by just all these great people. There's just great respect. It's spotless. It's full of love. It's full of helping, and just people just promote your ski area just by word of mouth. And you know, I feel so good that the skiers are the ones that are benefiting. You know, they got a place to go where it's smooth. You know, we just lots of work. We work real hard to make it smooth, and creates this really cool Ski the East. You know, have you talked to any of those guys?
No, not yet. Yeah. But yeah, no, I love what they do too.
Yeah, the Ski the East. You know, God, it's so cool. You guys. Yeah, we're all feeding off each other. It's a wonderful thing, you know. Skiing is a teeny little niche of life, and of course, for most people, it's just something you do for total 100% getaway fun. And as a result of that, it's not a serious thing, you know. It's just like, and you know, you talk about this equipment thing. There's these Facebook pages where people love to talk about equipment, so you know, it's out there.
I love that. Well,
check out the Whitegrass website in the middle of the winter one day. You'll that's basically what, you know, my big job is to create, you know, the whole vibe on the website and the Facebook and stuff like that, and shoot a lot of pictures. Who's that old guy with the camera in his hand? Old guy? And I looked at myself in the mirror. I went, "Yep, old guy."
Oh, I love that.
You know?
I'll make sure to I'll put a link in the show notes too, and then that way people
go
can find you.
Go to my daily report page.
Oh, that's
instead of
perfect.
the home page.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit more current. I got like caving pictures on there from yesterday and blueberry picking.
Oh man, I'm jealous. I love it. We'll have to next time we talk. We'll have to dig into the homesteading. I love that self-reliance stuff, man. That's killer. So
yeah, Scott. You know, there's a saying. There's a T-shirt out there that said the hippies got it right, and there was a lot of stuff that they did get right. Now, not all of it, but you know, if you think about the food thing, the organic thing, the acceptance of other colors of race, the acceptance of other religions, and, you know, the thing that didn't stick is the damn hippie music. Nobody likes, you know, hippie music. I'm only kidding. I mean, hippie music is that's the most popular music on the earth, you know, is hippie music. So I was a back to the land hippie, and, you know, and then I became, you know, whatever. I mean, a lot of my friends that were hippies now are like Trump supporters, which is fine, but not me. So anyway, yeah, it's a good thing. And like I said, keep in touch with some of these other people. Keep it rolling, man. It's so cool that you captured it, and I can link it on my little site, and you can edit this down to like 15 minutes.
No, hopefully. Whatever, dude. There's no edits. This is all pure gold, my brother.
Well, you're wonderful, and good luck to you and your sweetie and what you're doing, your shop, and the Freeheel life, man. I feel honored and so much to be in the footsteps of Dosty. I listened to him this morning, and of course, Lori and I spent time with him, and she was smiling. She goes, "He's pretty funny." Oh, yeah, it's great, man.
I love it.
Keep it going, man, and when you want to ski uphill, wax wrong. Maybe put the wrong wax on, and then you ice up, or else stick your skis in a creek, in a stream bed, and ice them up, and then you the cheapest skins you've ever had.
Best advice ever. I love it.
Ice them up.
I love it. Well, have a great weekend, brother, and can't wait to talk to you again. Thanks for doing this.
All right. Freeheel life.
Love it,
Thank
baby.
you very much.
See you, brother.
Okay.
Ciao. And just like that, we get to talk to another legend. I am so stoked when I get to talk to these gentlemen that have been around telemark skiing for so long. And thank you to Chip for sharing such amazing stories. And I will always be proud that we we met over a sip of White Lightning from meeting at the NATO Telefest. That was such an awesome story to kind of recount. So I can't wait to talk to more. Every time I talk to one of these guys from the early days, it just really gets the wheels turning about how many amazing people have contributed to Telemark, to the culture itself, and also to the turn and developing it and techniques, and really helping preserve such an awesome downhill technique that started so long ago. And these guys were truly the first protectors of the turn. And I would like to think that myself and all of you out there are doing the same thing, being protectors of the turn and kind of helping it move along and stay true to its roots while also evolving and changing in positive ways as well. So glad you guys got to listen to that. I feel really privileged that I had the chance to talk to him and appreciate him spending the time just to share his thoughts. So how you can support us, as always, you can support the podcast directly by making a donation of your choice, paypal.me/freeheellife. Like I said in the beginning of the episode, we're starting to get new stuff in. The season is upon us. We would love to be your preferred telemark shop this winter, and we want to be able to service your needs and answer your questions, and can't wait to help you. So you can always shop at freeheellife.com. You can email us directly at customerservice@freeheellife.com if you're looking for something. We will also be firing up some new articles on telemarkskier.com, and can't wait to do those. That's more of gear reviews, stoke, and industry news, and we will be getting that rolling again here shortly. Like I mentioned at the beginning, all our social media, YouTube channel, great places to partake in the delicious telemark content. If you got anything specifically for me about the podcast, you can email me at podcast@freeheellife.com. Thank you for listening. Take a second to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And thank you for all of your support. And until next week, spread telemark always, my friends. Peace out.